Hello, my name is Dominic Underhallhouse and welcome to another episode of Moonbreaker. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the devlog that came out from Charlie Cleveland, so the game director, who's been talking about all the things that are coming in the next patch. So we're not 100% sure it's when it's going to be, but we're assuming a lot of people are thinking it's going to be in the next week or so. So I wanted to sort of go through and talk a few things about that. If you want to see the video itself, the original, it'll be in the description down below. It's a great video, go ahead and have a look, and it gives you some information about things that are coming up. But what I wanted to do is, in that video, it doesn't show you some of the things that are implemented on the experimental server, so we might get a slightly more interesting look to see them fully formed rather than in like the development document on there as well. So I thought we'd share that out and hopefully give you guys a bit of encouragement as to what's going to be heading our way soon. So the first thing that was mentioned is that there's no longer going to be the season plan. So this is the season pass we've got here at the moment. This is one that obviously I haven't completed it. This is the experimental server with all these rewards here. Ooh, we've got the glitter paints on here now. Hang on, is this the new... have I been missing out that there are these bonus ones on here? Interesting. That's very cool. This is actually the first time I've noticed that. So we've got a third eye profile image, which is the Cinderich School, a banner shape, turncoat paint job, a decal pack, and glitter paints. I think these are probably just going to be implemented alongside other things, but I can't wait to see those. Anyway, that's something I was going to come back to in a moment. I didn't know that was on here. So either way, we've got the season track model at the moment, and it's going to be changing to what they're calling headliners. So headliners are going to be named updates, and each of these updates is going to have basically a theme around it. So the first one that we've got coming is called Command and Control, and what that's going to be is it's going to be focused around some of sort of the changes that have been made to the game, largely based on community feedback. And with these, so we don't have exact figures on them, but previously, the plan was going to be for 25 crew and 1 captain every 4 months. So now what we're looking at is maybe 5 crew, but every 6 weeks. So it's slightly less crew overall, but it's a lot more frequent, sort of, continuous change. And I think that would be really, really good for keeping the game fresh, keeping it interesting. You're never too far away from the next release, the next sort of tweak to the meta. And I think that's very exciting for the future of the game. And also, it's just going to be more fun. If you come in and you're like, oh, I haven't played for a few weeks, what's new? And there's a bunch of new units you can play with, that's fun. I'm looking forward to that. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into an AI game. I'm just going to pick a random list and talk about some of the things that are coming into the game. Before we do so, the main changes that are coming first are resource changes. So, we'll talk about that once we get in the game, but I will show you just what we're talking about here. Don't worry about the list I'm picking. It is just one that I've used. So, one of the first things to show you is this right here. It's going to be the new intro. So there's 2 different parts to this. The first we're going to see here is going to be the loading screen between the 2 captains. Now, I really want to make sure that this can show you paint, but this screen is fantastic. I love it. And I am assuming that that will show your paint jobs as well. I haven't painted anything on the experimental server, but getting an extra way of showing off your paint jobs is fantastic. Now here we are, is the next part here, scenario, and we get this little intro here. So this is where each of us spawns. These are what's called control points, and these are going to be harvestable cinder piles. So because we don't know what these are, and we need to sort of go into it a little bit, control points are a new way of adding a secondary win condition to the game. So the way that the game is worded now is that you need to get 10 victory points, which are these up here, to win the game. And if you hold one of these with your units and nobody else's at the start of your turn, you score 1 point for each of these. There's different objective maps, different scenarios, even on the same map. Multiple scenarios per map is really interesting, but some of them have more than 1 victory point per point. Some of them only have 1 control point, a big one in the middle. Some have them in like one side, some have them another. It really does mean you have to go for varied play styles coming through. So be prepared to play a bit differently. If you're scrapping with your opponent for 4 or 5 turns, but they're holding 2 of the control points, you're going to lose that game. So it gives a little bit of extra depth. It also means that just running away every turn no longer going to be that viable, because your opponent can just sit and score points, forcing you to do something about it, which is a really good addition if you ask me. So the next thing we've got are these harvestable cinder piles. So what these do is explodes when destroyed, dealing 3 area damage, which is interesting. So you can now use these to attack your opponents essentially if they're too nearby them, which got a little aura there. And captain or crew that touch the cinder pile gain 1 cinder at the start of their next turn. So it's a way of gaining resources, but at the risk of potentially taking some damage as well. And that is a really good segue onto the resources. So you'll see me talk about this in previous videos, but now we know that this is pretty much coming to live. The first thing we need to talk about is that this here on our bridge is the new resource system. So this little pinky purple banner here is leadership. So leadership is a new deployment resource, and Cinder is now an ability resource. So these are two separate things. So when these things say they gain you Cinder, they don't gain you leadership. And so the way this works is you start the game with 5 leadership, and now with a bridge of 10 units, which we'll come back to in a moment, you can deploy any number of these, adding up to a total of 5 leadership. So you can pick and choose whatever you want. And you can see here underneath these they've got a little extra icon there, and that's how much Cinder these units generate. So any unit that has an ability, you need Cinder to use it. Each turn you'll gain 3 leadership from your captain, which is used to deploy to deploy units, and 2 Cinder from your captain, and anything else that your units here tell you as well. So that's how you get your option of using abilities. It seems a little bit disjointed at first, but once you start playing it, it's actually really intuitive. It makes a lot of sense. It takes a bit of tweaking to get your list right so you don't end up running out of Cinder or having too much and not really having any use of it, but it makes the game feel fantastic. It means that you're no longer having to decide between deploying units and using the ones you've got, and we're now at a point where things like Detonia, who has almost never played in the live server, is almost a staple in these games. So it's really, really exciting. It changes so much about the way the game is played, but also the fact you can deploy multiple units turn 1 if you want to speeds up the pace of it as well. So really, really interesting from that point of view, the new resource, and it's really, really valuable to sort of understand the value of both of these resources and make the most out of it in your games. So the next thing to talk about is the turn timer. So you'll see here this your turn button. Now if you're playing in a PvP game, this actually has a little ribbon all the way around it, a little sort of bar that ticks down all the way throughout your turn and shows you how long you've got left. It's so helpful for knowing how long you've got to plan your moves, how long you've got to take your actions. You still get the same audio cues. It's just a really clean way of changing that. And honestly, I think it's fantastic. It's really, really good. So the next thing I want to talk about, so we've seen the bridge a moment ago, but the fact we've got 10 units now is a big change as well, because what it means is you can play more niche units. So if you've got something where you think you might use it occasionally but not that often, this is something I thought might happen with the original roster change. It turns out the rosters were just slightly too small to really make that of good value, because if you only have 8 units, a lot of the time you're going to lose 2 of them, you're going to trade them off, and then you're going to need to go for just the raw maximum power most of the time to keep that momentum going. Now you've got 6 maximum on the battlefield, so you've got at least 4 spare, and you can really use those for utility picks, maybe 1 or 2 utility picks or things that you might use in a niche situation. It's so much more flexible, and with more crew coming, this is only going to make the game more fun, and it really does work very well. So the next thing I want to show you is actually involving me conceding the game. So that's the sort of an idea of how the game works. It's a huge amount of changes there, but there's a lot more to come. And the first thing is this right here, the defeat screen. So there's now one of these for victory and defeat. It tells you how you lost the game as well, and it also has a little voice, little like quip from your captain. So if you lose, you get a -1. You win, you get a +1. It's a great feeling. The next is this screen here. This is the post-game screen, and this is one of the things that I've wanted for a while. It's some additional information about the game. So what you've got here is it tells you which map you're on. It tells you how long the game was, what game mode you're in, whether you won or lost, which we know the outcome here. These bits here tell you how many points you each scored. So if you kill the enemy captain, you get your 10 included into this. It shows you yours and your opponent's banners. So if you put a lot of effort into picking a nice banner that matches your roster, you do get to see it here, which is great. And then it shows your player levels either side. And now these things here, what these are is, this here is going to be the number of points you... I think this is the points you gain from one of them. I'm just looking at this, remembering actually these are probably going to need to be tweaked, because these are control points. These I'm going to assume might be killing the captain, because this one was originally for bounties. but bounties have been removed. So maybe we just don't have all of these, but something similar to this will be coming to the game. And most importantly, this information is all still here. And now you can look at yours and your opponent's rosters. So this is mine, it shows you everything you've got going on, and you can look at your opponents as well and see what they were using, even the units that you didn't necessarily see on the battlefield, so you can really learn from that. We've also now got a play again button. That doesn't exist in the current game. Nice little quality of life change. So really useful changes so far. And now it's time to look at some of the more exciting ones. You see that little command and control splash screen there. So I've talked about a lot of these already, but what I wanted to do is just quickly run through some of the changes that have come to the game. The first of which we're going to look at is Astra. So Astra's ability has been reworked here. Into the Breach no longer gives charge to units. What it does is refreshes the attack, movement and abilities of the next allied crew that Astra touches this turn. So if you've attacked with something, you can move Astra into range, use it Into the Breach. You can not only attack again, but you can move again and use any abilities again. Really interesting with things like Antios Gauntlet, who can then go from being 4 attack if you've used ability once, up to 7 attack, or you can use it on a shrapnel to get 2 AoE shots and move away. You can give anything a sort of pseudo Maximus ability, move in, shoot again, run away. Really flexible, really powerful, but a very interesting change. You'll also notice that the captains now have 25 health. So we're assuming this is coming to the live version of the game, and what this means is the games are that little bit slower, and that allows you to get much more use out of your units. So really can't wait for that to go on at all. So here you can see on the captain abilities, we've got name of the captain, large range, so it tells you what size the base is and if they're ranged or melee attack. Captain, airborne, which is move through obstacles, you know this already, and then onward. And now here are 3 new things. We've seen this in the middle, the cinder generation. We saw that on the other units there. Every captain currently generates 2 cinder per turn. This is leadership generation. You start with 5 and gain 3 every turn. And this here is speed. So now every unit has a speed stat, which means that there can be a lot more tweaking with how fast and slow things are. So if they used to have the fast and slow keyword, now we've just got speed. So Astra is currently at a 4, we've got Extilior at a 5, and if we look for something along the lines of, say, a Crankbait is 7, because Crankbait was originally fast. So really does sort of change it up a little bit. A really good change to the game. Very happy for that as well. So next thing to look at is also just to talk quickly about units with passive abilities. So what I want to do is just scroll down till we find our Neck Divine here. And so Neck Divine, restore 2 health to allies in range every turn. But this is a passive ability, not an active one. And so passive abilities now, if you are stunned, including through Peacemaker Ballam or just entering the battlefield or things like that, these abilities no longer trigger. So you have a 1-turn delay on everything like this. You have it on Defense Dome, which is a little bit of a niche case, because what Defense Dome does is it's stunned for your turn, but on your opponent's turn it's then unstunned, so you do still get that benefit on their turn. But then things like Quetzali doesn't work straight away, Amplifier Baito doesn't work straight away, and honestly I think it's a great change. It just means that there's no longer that huge immediate impact on some of the really powerful things that make them hard to balance, and it means you don't have to put the cost sky high, and it reduces how often they're going to be used. So that's a really important one here. But the next thing, the one that everyone's most excited for, is new crew. So we've got 5 new crew, I believe, coming to the game. They're all smugglers. I'll give you a very quick rundown because I've talked about most of these previously. Hit and Run is currently a 3 leadership. Ambush, which is a new keyword, which means you can deploy it anywhere on the map. It's extremely fast with a movement speed of 7, and whenever it damages a target, refresh its move. So this is melee Maximus. It feels fantastic because it's so fast. You can stand on a control point, run out, hit a unit, run back onto the control point. It's not the toughest thing, but really cool to use. So that is our very first one there of Hit and Run. Next up we have, here we go, Turncoat. So Turncoat is probably my personal favourite, even though maybe not the most powerful. Turncoat is a 4 leadership cost. Actually no, I argue very powerful but difficult to use. Let's go back to that. 4 cost to play, 1 attack, 6 health, with generating 1 cinder, medium level of movement speed. Your mine, immobilize a rival crew, next turn gain control of it if it's still in range. If they don't have a Zax, a Chuck and Co, a Crankbait, some other way to move it, or enough damage to kill your unit, you just gain control of it for the rest of the game. It's not even temporary, it's for the rest of the entire game. This is especially good versus melee crews because it means that not only are you potentially gaining control of them, but also your opponent can't use them to move and attack you, so you just have to stay slightly out of range. I like to do this around a corner or just somewhere out of the rest of the battlefield and try and take 1 or 2 units per game. It's a huge swing if you can do so, so great fun with Turncoat there. I highly recommend playing. Next up we have Flurry. So Flurry is one of the ones I think could really see some build around. Flurry has now been changed to large. I haven't actually played with Flurry since it's been large. Quite a lot of people gave the feedback that when they played Flurry and Flurry was small, it felt it didn't feel like what we expected just looking at the character model. Resilient is the new keyword that we've got here for Flurry, and damage dealt to this unit is reduced to 2, so you only ever deal a maximum of 2 damage at a time, and whenever it takes damage, deal 2 damage to all units in range. So this just means that you can put it in the middle of an enemy team. If you shoot it with your own shrapnel, if you hit it, you're dealing them 2 damage with a shrapnel, and then an AoE with Flurry as well. Really, really fun unit. So many combos. We figured out a video a while ago of getting basically a one-shot kill using a series of Flurry. We had Broken Vengeance, Beatrice, and Defense Domes, and it led to exactly enough, or just enough damage to kill an enemy captain in one shot, which is fantastic. Noxie here is another 5 leadership one, large ranged, resilient again, so again that reducing damage to 2. Defend the Swarm. If damaged, create a Toxoid, maximum of 1, so this is the same as the unit Toxoid that you can just play normally, and gain 1 attack whenever a Toxoid is destroyed. I've not found too much use for this yet, but I can see where it could come in. It does take 3 attacks to kill it, so you're going to get at least 1 Toxoid out of it. Almost guaranteed value, but very expensive. Unsure how that's going to really fit into things, but very interesting nonetheless, and I'm sure there'll be some synergies down the line. And then lastly for now we've got Crash. Crash is just the hard hitter of the lot. Crash is a 6 cost melee unit, so 3 attack, 10 health, and with the ability of Wreck It. Attack all touching units, and it is a real attack, so things like Pummel means you can attack twice, and then permanently gain +1 attack and lose 1 health. So losing 1 health, it means that you're taking 1 damage essentially, you're not losing maximum health. But this is super powerful with things like with Pummel, and then if you can use Astra to refresh the abilities, it hits like an absolute truck. So these are the new crew coming to the game as well. We've already seen that there's going to be on the season track that we now know the glitter paints, something that's talked about as well. I can't wait to see these. I think they're going to look ridiculous. I love anything like that. And all in all, everything that we've seen here is coming, as far as we know, to the live server very, very soon. So it's a really, really exciting time to be part of Moonbreaker. Just a quick thing to run down what's going to be changing as well in the near future. We already know that there's going to be destroyable objects being looked at on the maps, so maybe that could change the shape of the battlefield or the terrain, or just even have a wall that you need to break through to get better line of sight angles. There's a very hush-hush single-player mode in development. So we know that it's in development, but we don't know what it is. Very exciting. Loads of people have been asking for a single-player mode. Great to see that's coming in the future. We know that there's new captains coming, and in the video that we're talking about, it was even mentioned that there's quite a few in development, so can't wait until this is more than just a 3-horse race. It's going to change the entire landscape of the game, and I'm so keen for it. The tutorial's being developed. It looks great at the moment. There's a really, it feels a lot more polished than the previous one, really a bit more entertaining as well, and it's going to be a modular based one as well, which is really useful for a game as complex as Moonbreaker, which is a great change. And then lastly we've got the sandbox mode here. This version currently doesn't work, but it is being developed and is going to come to the game, so you can just test things out at your own pace. So for anyone who's wondering about the future of Moonbreaker, I'm really excited. There's so much coming, so many more things to see, and honestly I think it's going to be just one of the most entertaining things coming for me personally that I can think of at all. It's absolutely something I'm keen for. Hopefully you are too, and hopefully this has reassured you about the state of the game and got you interested in coming back and trying out the new patch when it goes live. So if you've enjoyed this, please let me know what you're most excited about in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. For me personally, it probably is the new resource mechanic. I love all the new units, but the resource system has changed how that game feels. And also, I've just realised I forgot to mention that assists have also been removed as well, and it's changed the way the game plays, but because of the resource system, it makes it feel like you've got so much more to do that I think assists would be over the top. The fact that I was against them being removed in the first place and now it's almost an afterthought shows you how confident I am in this change, and you should be too. It doesn't sound like it's going to work, but trust me, it does. Huge improvement. I'd love to hear what you're most looking forward to. And if you could want to see more content like this, let me know in the comments. Hit the subscribe button. I'll be doing this as often as I can do. And if you really want to support us, head over to the Patreon. It's the best thing you can do for the channel. I'm incredibly grateful to everyone over there. But most importantly, thank you so much for watching. I'll hopefully see you in game. Most importantly, have a good day.